scattering of showers and thunderstorms rumbling across central and eastern Kentucky. Up next, we'll talk about the potential for some stronger storms for the weekend.
The fight over cuts to higher education goes to the state Supreme Court. A massive tree falls in a Lexington neighborhood, what some people think caused it to come down.
This is WKYT News at 4:30.
Good afternoon. What a day. The weather brought us a rare sight this afternoon.
Take a look. A funnel cloud formed in Clark County, even though it wasn't storming there. The sight sent many people running for their cameras to capture the unusual situation. We begin with WKYT Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey with a closer look at what happened and what's on the radar right now.
Yeah, no thunderstorm over top of Winchester, and a shower. That's right, a shower that dropped a funnel cloud. There's no cold air aloft. This is not a cold air funnel. This is what I'm calling a land spout funnel cloud. It's the same principle as when you're down at the beach, you're in the tropics, you look out over the ocean, and some of us have been in this situation where you see a little funnel cloud. Some are way out over the water. Well, if it touches down, it becomes a water spout. Well, this time it's over land. If it would have touched down, it would have been a land spout, which is also in the tornado family. Now, that is much different from a true tornado that comes from a rotating supercell thunderstorm. This did not. It had no wall cloud. Any land spout, even funnels, are very thin, which is what you were seeing. They're also very weak, and thankfully this one did not touch down. We're looking at your Defender radar network, and the shower threat is beginning to wind down out there. A sprinkle or two across the metro. Still some action here across the Mountain Parkway south of 64. That's where most of the action has been today. We talked about this yesterday. Get into London, get eastbound on the Hal Rogers Parkway toward Manchester and Hyden, and a couple of showers and thunderstorms have been ongoing today. Thankfully, though, a lot of this stuff is beginning to dry up just a little bit. A lot of clouds out there, and look at the moisture across the Ozarks. Some of that will sneak in for the day tomorrow. We'll track that and focus on a weekend forecast that may have some stronger thunderstorms. Oh, there's a lot of good in the 7-day too, guys, when I come back in a little over 10 minutes.
Chris, thank you. The state's highest court heard arguments over the governor's cuts to higher education this morning.
The Attorney General, Andy Beshear, sued the governor after the governor issued the order last spring. After a judge ruled in the governor's favor, Andy Beshear appealed it to the Kentucky Supreme Court. WKYT's Phil Pendleton has more on the hearing. It's our top story at 4:30.
On one side, the Attorney General is stating that spending decisions need to be made by the legislature. On the other, the governor says that executive decisions are simply those decisions to spend taxpayers' dollars wisely. Colleges and universities were told to cut their spending by more than 4% last spring. The Attorney General filed a lawsuit saying the governor's actions were illegal. He says the spending decisions are the responsibility of the legislature. Andy Beshear says numerous state statutes prohibit Bevin from doing what he did.
It is solely about whether a governor can unilaterally reduce an appropriation by the General Assembly to our universities in a time of surplus. That answer is a resounding no.
Obviously, a difference of opinion between the Attorney General and the Governor's office about whether this Commonwealth has a surplus or not.
The justices heard arguments for nearly 2 hours this morning. If they do decide to rule for the Attorney General, they will be reversing a decision made by the Franklin Circuit Court judge. In Frankfort, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
And it could take several weeks before the Supreme Court justices issue their ruling.
A massive mess in a Lexington neighborhood after a large tree came down, narrowly missing a home. While no one knows exactly why it fell down, neighbors on Duncan Lane think there's an explanation. WKYT's Caitlin Setner shows us what's to blame.
I heard this big crash, and I thought it was just a loud clap of thunder.
Many inside their homes on Duncan Avenue opened their doors to find a huge mess.
She said that the tree fell down, and I was like, nuh-uh. I didn't think anything could knock it down.
A very skeptical Charles Shipley drove home from work to find he'd been wrong.
As I come up the street here, I could see, yep, the tree came down. The sky was all clear over here where I usually see the tree. And there was a policeman standing in the road. And I was, what am I going to do, you know?
The Shipleys have lived on Duncan Avenue for more than 25 years. The toppled tree, they think, precedes them by more than 10 times that.
I've had estimates anywhere from $250,000 to 400 years old.
But there's still no explanation as to why it just fell, as neighbors had explained. One neighbor thinks there's a groundhog problem, that they had a cavern below the tree, destroying the root system. Shipley has a different theory.
I've always heard that bur oaks don't like to have the ground around them disturbed much, and being really close to the driveway, and I've got compost heap back there, and I'm figuring that that kind of stuff damaged the roots.
Homeowners say the city came out yesterday and cleaned up the sidewalk and a bit of the street. They still don't know what they're going to do with the rest of the tree, though.
I figured somebody might take it for firewood.
For now, he's counting his blessings, saying this situation could have been so much worse. In Lexington, Caitlin Setner, WKYT.
Lexington police have arrested a man in connection to a robbery at a pharmacy. Police say that James Bell stole nearly $200 from a man at a Rite Aid store on Loudon Avenue. The victim tackled Bell, who got away but left behind his wallet with his ID inside. Hours later, police say Bell robbed Sally Beauty Supply on Sir Barton Way. Bell is charged with theft and robbery. Lexington police are investigating a hit-and-run crash. A car hit a man on Gumbo Court near Center Parkway overnight. The man was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Police say the driver took off, and they're not getting much help from the victim or witnesses.
Updated legislation could be in the works after a WKYT investigation into unfit animal shelters. Last summer, we uncovered animal shelters that did not meet the state's minimum standards set by a 2004 law. It turns out no one really knew how many shelters were not meeting the state standards. This summer, a group of college students went to find out. The results showed changes need to be made.
Ultimately, the goal was to determine, is more funding at the state level necessary and more oversight at the state level necessary to try.
Tonight on WKYT at 6, see what counties this new study says has the worst animal shelters in the state.
Kentucky's jobless rate falling again last month. It's now under 5% for the first time in 15 years. According to the U.S. Department of Labor, the state's 4.9% rate is on par for the national average. A federal survey shows employment is up by over 19,400 jobs since July of last year. Police officers all over this country are kicking off a summer campaign in anticipation of Labor Day weekend. Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over begins tomorrow and will run through September 15th. Law enforcement agencies, Office of Highway Safety and AAA are partnering to spread the Drive Safe message.
The 112th annual Kentucky State Fair is officially underway. The 11-day celebration in Louisville features hundreds of exhibits as well as food, rides, concerts, and the World's Championship Horse Show. The main stage concert series opens today with Reba McEntire and special guest Parmalee. Fair admission is $10. A holiday tradition will return to Kings Island after a 12-year absence. The park is bringing back Winterfest in 2017. Kings Island will be transformed into a winter wonderland, including the world's largest Christmas tree display and lights on the park's 314-foot tall Eiffel Tower. Dates, hours, and ticket prices will be announced at a later date. Readers can soon get lost in the world of Harry Potter again. The series J.K. Rowling is working on a little later.
Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey.
We've been dealing with a lot of tropical clouds out there over the past several days. Today, no different, putting down some locally heavy downpours from time to time. And you walk outside, and again, the sweat factor is way up there. Let's look outside with those 9 live sky cams. Got you covered across the entire area. Looking out to I-65, see a little sun there into Louisville. Not so much for Lexington, Frankfort, Florence. Get into eastern Kentucky. We've had rain that has been a little more prominent. Jackson down into the Corbin area. And again, south, I tell you what, those computer models we were looking at yesterday, remember that hour-by-hour forecast that I said Covington would be around 84, 85 degrees on it, and low 70s across southern Kentucky? There you go, 73 Danville and Somerset, 84 into Covington. You got some sun into the far northern parts of the area. Defender Radar Network picking up on today's rains, as expected, south of 64. It hasn't been that much for many of us until you get into parts of Lincoln County, into parts of Jackson and Rockcastle counties. Rockcastle County had some flash flooding a little earlier in the day. Doesn't look like much on radar. It's small, but it is putting it down here on the Rockcastle-Jackson County line. A little lighter stuff from Mount Victory and Somerset toward Lake Cumberland. Southeastern Kentucky, small little showers can put down a quick 1/2 to 1 inch of rain in a few spots. So let's watch those creeks and streams. Got a little action lining up the Mountain Parkway right on top of the Natural Bridge area into southeastern Kentucky. How do we look for your Friday? High school football is back. Got to have some nice weather for the high school football fans, huh? Yeah, I'm one of you, by the way. Low and mid 80s coming up tomorrow afternoon. It's not going to rain all the time, and many of you may not even see some rain, but a booming thunderstorm is a possibility to go up tomorrow afternoon. So we'll keep an eye on that. Any storm tomorrow will have some heavy downpours. Really going to watch late Saturday into Saturday evening for the possibility of some strong or locally severe thunderstorms. That's a big-time front that is on the move late Saturday into early Sunday. Sunday, by the way, may start gray with some showers and thunderstorms, and then it's going to end on a very, very nice note. Let's go through the evening and through the next couple of days. We'll take you into your Friday with some fog in the morning. Still fair game for an isolated shower or thunderstorm at any point to start the day. Break out into a mix of sun and clouds tomorrow afternoon. Watch out for a scattered thunderstorm that will try to bubble up as well. That may include some of those high school football games. It's not like tomorrow evening we're going to be talking about just rain everywhere. So hopefully we can get all the stadiums, all the fields out there to remain under the rain-free dome. Into Saturday, better chance for some late-day thunderstorms that will be blossoming, especially if we can get any sunshine on Saturday. Watch out by the evening. Could be some stronger storms around. Early day showers and thunderstorms on Sunday. Look at that height, 77 degrees, upper 70s to around 80 into the first half of next week, and 55 degrees by Monday morning.
That funnel cloud really sticks
Crazy, huh?
out.
Yeah.
I mean, the pictures.
And that was, again, from a non-thunderstorm. It was from a shower. Those are very rare around here. You will typically see that type of a setup more at the beach in the tropics than you will around here. You see often water spouts. Well, that didn't touch down. It would have been called a land spout, which is a tornado, but it's a little different kind of a tornado. It's not like the big thunderstorms and the big tornadoes you typically see.
If you see it in person, you're
Yeah.
like, oh.
Yeah, and weather service, we were talking in a chat a little bit ago, that's probably one of the more well-photographed funnel clouds you are ever going to see.
A little bit of a weather lesson for all of us today, right?
There you go.
Thank you, Professor.
You got it. You got it. It'll be a test later.
Okay.
Well, the world's longest aircraft has taken its maiden flight in England.
At Jonathan Vigalotti shows us the helium-filled Airlander 10 is more than 300 feet long, nearly 50 feet longer than the biggest passenger planes.
On an airfield just north of London, the world's longest aircraft spreads its tiny wings and takes to the sky. Measuring in around the width and length of a football field, the Airlander 10 is not what you'd call conventional. Up close, it looks even stranger.
This is the flight deck. I'll come bring you up here.
But Chief Test Pilot David Burns, who was at the controls for the Airlander's maiden flight, says you need to look beyond the shape of the hull, which has been, you could say, the butt of some jokes, to appreciate this very modern flying machine.
A normal flight deck, any pilot would feel right at home coming in here.
The helium-filled Airlander is in fact a Frankenstein of technologies, taking the shape and lift benefits of a blimp and combining them with the maneuverability of a helicopter and the load capacity of a small cargo plane. Its creators, Hybrid Air Vehicles, claim the aircraft is super efficient.
And essentially the engines of 4 SUVs propel this thing?
That's right, yeah.
Spokesman Chris Daniels claims it could be used to drop humanitarian aid into disaster areas.
It can land and take off from anywhere. It's amphibious, it can land on water, land on lakes, desert, ice, you name it.
But the Airlander can't compete with planes when it comes to speed. It tops off at around 70 miles an hour. Jonathan Vigliotti, CBS News, London.
And designers say the Airlander 10 can spend several days in the air without refueling. Unlike pressurized blimps of the past, you may be thinking about the doomed Hindenburg. Creators say that this aircraft will not catch fire or pop like a balloon.
It's a place where land meets sea in a farm-to-table dinner series. I'm Deanne Stevens, out and about at Table 310 today.
Land will meet sea as part of a special dinner in downtown Lexington next week.
Table 310 will host a farm dinner series. Our Deanne Stevens is out and about with more on the meal and how you can enjoy it.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. We are here at Table 310 preparing for their Farm to Table Dinner series. We're always talking about food around here, aren't we? We love starting with Farmer Eric here, who helps put these events together because he's out doing all the work. Eric's Organics, his farm is right off of Bryan Station Road. We've been out there before. You do some amazing work, Farmer Eric.
Oh, thank you, Deanne. I'm real excited and passionate about growing these items. For example, what I brought for you today, I've saved and collected the seeds over the years, and these are some of my favorite varieties this time of year.
What are we showing here that's going literally from the farm to the box here to the plate?
Well, this is a real fun selection. These are called Sun Golds and Bumblebee tomatoes and striped Roman. These are a few of my favorite heirloom varieties of tomatoes that Chef Chris has made some real tasty dishes with. And this is a burgundy okra and a green okra, which are big sellers for me. And this is New Zealand spinach, which a lot of people have not tasted. I think I'm the only grower in this area for this, but it's really hardy. It stands up to the heat of Kentucky in August. And then these are more like English or Japanese cucumbers and a variety of peppers.
How appreciative are you as a farmer and other local farmers around here of different restaurants like Table 310 using your product?
Well, my customer really pulls what I do, and my wife and I met with Chef Chris last fall and asked him what he would get excited about, and we've tried to tailor our products just to Chef Chris and what he can use on his menu here.
Well, he is using it, and he's using it on the menu for the Farm to Table Dinner Series. It's next weekend. You got to have your tickets by Saturday, though, in order to participate. What is on the menu, Chef Chris?
Well, a lot of that's going to depend on what my fishermen can catch. However, I'll be featuring a lot of Farmer Eric's delicious vegetables. We will also have the Kentucky Silver Carp, which is straight out of Paducah. Fantastic company named Fin Gourmet. But yeah, I'm going to try to make whatever they catch and whatever Farmer Eric picks into good food.
Yeah, and you said you guys use like 80% of everything you use is local?
Yes, all of our produce, we do our best to keep 100% local. And it's nice to have like a weekly email from this gentleman saying this is what I have this week, and we get to plan our menu around that.
Well, it sounds fantastic. It looks fantastic, and you can be a part of it. It's happening next weekend. You got to have your tickets by Saturday. Call the number on the screen for the Farm to Table Dinner Series happening here at Table 310. I'm Deanne Stevens, out and about. Back to you guys.
Sounds pretty delicious.
Appetizing.
More stories are on the way about the magical world of Harry Potter.
Author J.K. Rowling is coming out with a new collection of stories about Hogwarts, which will be on the Pottermore website in early September. The new works include stories about the headmistress and the potions master Horace Slughorn. A squirrel put his nose where it didn't belong and ended up in a difficult situation. How two paramedics saved him. And take a look at this.
It is the talk of Clark County. Now it's the talk of our newsroom. This funnel cloud we saw today, I had a viewer send me a photo personally, so I immediately just tweeted it to Chris, not even knowing what was really going on.
Chris, I guess this is a great example of you never know what's going to happen when the conditions may be right.
Yeah.
I mean, because very unusual.
It really is, and on a very small scale. And coming up here at 5, we'll explain what was going on over the skies of Clark County a little earlier this afternoon. Rare, unusual event, to say the least, across the Bluegrass State. And what made it even more rare is that everybody was taking pictures of it. We look outside right now. You've got the tropical skies, Jackson, Frankfort, Lexington, and London. A lot of thermometers again stuck into the upper 70s this afternoon. Showers and thunderstorms across the southern half of the state. Folks into northern Kentucky, if you're north of 64, you've been mainly dry. You're a lot warmer than your neighbors to the south, and that trend will continue as we go through the next several hours. And again, coming up here at 5 o'clock, we'll touch on what happened in the skies over Clark County and look ahead toward the weekend. Right now, let's look outside to the highways and the byways with Officer Don.
Total of about 4 collisions working right now around Lexington, including a crash on New Circle Road. There's actually 2 at New Circle and Young Drive, and then one at Emerson and Bryan. Now, that corridor very slow. You can see all the red on the north side of town right now. There's also a collision at Alexandria. This one's at Winterberry. A couple lanes are blocked there. Drive times to Frankfort, 27 minutes. To Winchester, 34. Now back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Don. A stuck squirrel and some prehistoric lightning.
It's the video that will have you talking. Take a look at this. A squirrel learned the hard way you shouldn't stick your nose where it doesn't belong. The squirrel got his head stuck in a yogurt cup and couldn't figure out how to get free. 2 Connecticut paramedics used a blanket to catch the squirrel. It took about 2 attempts, but they finally got him, removed the cup, and released him back into the woods.
Poor thing.
Yeah.
All right, Chris Bailey, check this out. What do you think of that? Monstrous lightning strike. It looks like a T-Rex. The National Park Service posted the picture on their Facebook page. The strike happened at Blue Mesa in Arizona's Petrified Forest National Park.
Because that's pretty appropriate for it to hit there.
That is
look
something
like a
else.
dinosaur.
Yeah, very different.
Yeah. All right, stick with us. Here's what we're working on for you now at 5 o'clock.